The 5 most magical moves of Ding Liren. China's answer to Magnus Carlsen. Will he actually become world champion? Maybe, maybe. So we're going to have a look at his 5 most amazing moves. Remember to like and subscribe to this video and see how many you can get right. A very humble player. He did actually say that he didn't want to be famous, but if he continues playing the way he is in these videos, he will become even more famous. On to example number 1. Real skill in chess is getting out of tricky positions, being a Houdini on the board. And in this position, Ding with the black pieces has just been faced by knight to c5. Hou Yifang being the player of the white pieces, extremely strong player. And if black just sits here, black will get suffocated. So what amazing idea did Ding now play? Well, first of all, Ding played rook takes e3, sacrificing the exchange. And the idea behind this move was to then continue with knight takes c5. And did you get the second part of the sequence? This is what makes this a good idea. Rook takes c5. A second quite astonishing move, really trying to work on the dart squares there. And the point is, if that rook is taken, the bishop comes flying in. And now look at those lovely bishops with a very complex game. But black has found counterplay. After Hou Yifang's king h1, rook c7, black has an active game. The pawn is coming through and black's bishops could come to life. So finding activity in situations where you're worse, this is one important lesson to be learnt here. On to example number 2. This next example is one of my favourite games of all time, and we have Ding Liren with the black pieces. What did he now play? White's king is doing a walk of death, but Ding Liren has sacrificed his queen, and you need to look aggressive. A little rule I always say, if there's not an immediate win in the position, so if checks or captures don't help, then look for bringing in your reinforcements and trying to create threats. And that's exactly what black now does with the astonishing move, rook to d4. And this move is simply phenomenal. The idea is, if white takes that, the knight now finds a square and it forks the king and queen, winning the game. And this move, rook d4, is not just a flamboyant way to throw a piece into the middle of the board, it's creating a deadly threat. The rook is a force field against the white king, and now the idea of pawn to g4 comes alive. If knight takes g4, the bishop will come in with checkmate. Let's just show that. Pawn to a3, g4 check. Has to be taken. Bishop takes g4, checkmate, all because of this flamboyant peacock of a rook. Let's have a look at a couple more moves. h3 was played to try to hold this idea up. h5, Harry, good move, always a good move, renews the threat. Bishop h2, making an escape square for the king, but the hunt continues. g4, king g3, and now one more magical move here. A move that tries to force the white queen away and gain a lovely square and attack for black's pieces. Can you find it? It really is phenomenal. Rook to d2. This kamikaze rook, it wants to give itself up for the battle and in the process win the war. And again, this is similar to before. If the rook is taken, knight e4 will win the queen. And now this rook, you can see I'm smiling. I can't help but smile when I see something magic on these 64 squares. And now this rook is ready to bring in to f2, come around that angle, and knight to e4 will happen. And black went on to win this game. You can check this game out by searching for Ding Liren's best ever games on Chess.com. There's something very nice about simple, crisp technique and simple, crisp tactics, and that's exactly what occurs here. It's white to play, and black is ready to block the h-pawn by playing king to h7. So what did white play? And this is one that I hope most of you will find. h7 check. It's actually better for white not to have this pawn, because this pawn simply gets in the way of the rook. So give Harry up. Have it. Have the pawn. I don't want you, Harry. You're opening up lines so we can win the war. There's lots of brave pieces being shown when Ding Liren sacrifices them. And now if king takes h7, the rook slides in, and this time with check. Notice how handy it is not to have a pawn there. And next move, rook to h8 mate. And the game continued. Bishop takes h7, but now rook to h4. And there's an unstoppable threat of bishop to d3, and I'll let you work out why that is completely devastating. There's nothing that black can do to stop this idea and to hold on, therefore he resigned. Crisp, nice and simple, just like me. Not really, actually. Mastering how to attack from thin air is a real skill, and this is something Ding Liren shows in this game against Aronian of all players. Now Aronian's pieces are kind of trapped over on the queen side, and it's these alarming bells, you know, which you should notice when going for an attack. All the white's pieces are placed on the king's side. How do we rip the king apart? You can pause, remember that if you need to. Bishop takes g7, opening up the black king, and then the white queen comes in with a check. Queen f6, threatening checkmate. And here white does something a little bit sadistic. White is basically saying, I'm going to repeat the position, giving black hope that it might be a draw. And maybe black's thinking, yeah, I'm going to get a draw here. And all of a sudden white goes, ha ha ha. I laugh at your draw offer, and plays rook e1. And this is very clever. You can rarely checkmate with just with one piece. Two pieces, two very strong pieces, a queen and a rook, can do the job as they do here. Aronian tries a takes b4. Now a quick question, would you move your rook to e3 or e5? Rook e5 is much more accurate, because against rook e3, queen takes a3, holds on, and maybe black is just about surviving here by giving up his queen. After rook e5, there's a deadly threat of it swinging over to bring more firepower against the king. And after h6, it finds a way in. Black cannot get his pieces around to defend. And you can see there's multiple checkmate threats. And after queen takes f6, Aronian resigned. Very nice technique there. On to the final example. This last example is a brilliant show of how to use pieces and divert your opponent's major defensive pieces away from where they should be. For example, the black queen here is defending the pawn on h7, and this pawn on h7 is something which is holding black's position together. So how can white do something very clever? And it's a little sequence I've never seen before in my many years, 35 years of playing chess, to cause problems and force a way through to that square. Well, bishop to c2. And this is a really bizarre idea. This has to be taken, and can you see the follow-up? The follow-up is the blockading move, knight d3. And now black has no way to defend h7. Very strange technique there. And after the queen comes in, and now knight to e5, black loses his queen and loses the game. So on the surface, very simple, yet a very unique tactic, showing brilliant vision from Ding Liren. So what an amazing player Ding Liren is. Definitely one of the most deadly attacking players of the current age. He's also got a very good score against Magnus Carlsen. So if he does get a chance to play Magnus, I think Magnus will be just a tad scared. Do you think Ding Liren will win the candidates? Let me hear what you think below. And do remember to like and subscribe to this video. If you do that, I won't get fired. That's always a good start. And I might even get asked to do more of these videos, which is good for me. Probably bad for some of you, but good for me. And maybe good for some interesting chess moves. Goodbye, until next time.